Which camera?
I'll tell you when.
Hey guys, all right, so now I think we're ready to get started. We're going to dig into the hardcore impacts of cyber insurance on your business. As many of you are already aware, we have a couple of special guests that are joining us today. I like to believe that y'all are all here to talk to me, but I know that the guests we have with us today are probably the draw. Start off with, I want to just kind of acknowledge that this is a unique event for us. We typically see, say, 35 to 40% of the audience being new prospects that haven't done business with Center yet. Today, we've inched up a bit, over 50%. I think we're at 63% of new clientele on, and about 40% roughly of past customers. So I want to thank everybody for doing this with us. For those of y'all who haven't experienced a Center event yet, these are all virtual events with the intent to spread awareness on some tech topic that's in the trending currently. Today we're talking about cyber insurance, not because we sell insurance, but because we can assist you through the process of getting your cyber insurance questionnaires filled out. For some of y'all, that might be a brand new insurance program. For others, it's just the renewal. Either way, your answers on those questionnaires impact what you spend on your insurance, and doing so honestly really matters. So today, Parker Smith with Willis Towers Watson is going to be joining us to talk a bit about what goes on behind the scenes. The rest of you who have experienced a Center event know that I can't talk tech for whatever reason without talking meat. So we've taken you through quite the journey. We started out with grass-fed meat. We took you through a barbecue restaurant, discussed how to prepare a brisket from scratch. Went through a Wagyu brisket or a Wagyu meat moment where we sent everybody steaks from the Wagyu shop in Houston RC Ranch. Today, Jess Pryles of Hardcore Carnivores joining us. She's going through the process of getting her doctorate in meat science, and I'm excited to learn more about what meat science is all about. She's going to take us through a small master class. So with that, let me introduce you to Parker. Parker, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You walked all the way here from Chicago.
That's right. It took a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for making that effort.
No problem.
You work with Willis Towers Watson, right. One of many brokers, but one of the largest brokers,
right.
Correct?
Yeah.
How is Willis Towers one of the top 5, top 10?
Third largest brokerage.
Third largest brokerage.
Yeah, that's right.
And your job with them is really focused on the cybersecurity insurance. Is that right?
Exactly, that's right. Yeah, large clients purchasing cyber insurance, that's who we're looking to help. So
when it comes to everything from claims all the way through to exclusions and contracts, you see it all.
Yeah, we see all of it. Yeah, we have, we're placing the insurance initially. We have a claims team helping with that end. Product team looking through policy language, all of that, absolutely.
Sure. Quick history on the tax. It seems like it wasn't that long ago, but Colonial Pipeline was all we were hearing about in the news for a while. That was a supply chain tax. Previous to it, I'm already confused. Colonial Pipeline was a VPN connection that was not covered by MFA. Prior to that, SolarWinds was in the news. That was a supply chain attack. We had Microsoft and on-prem exchange issues. After it, we had just a slew of others, including MSPs like myself, that were being breached. Now we're seeing an uptick in business email compromises, where ACH instructions and payments are going to false locations, and people are losing money out of it. It's so much movement in just 18 months. How do y'all keep up with it all?
I mean, it's really hard. The cyber insurance industry was really turned on its head through all of the attacks you mentioned in ransomware, and it really became, unprofitable. And through that, the carriers have kind of driven an effort to improve, clients' controls by kind of looking at the claims that they suffered and figuring out what was not in place and what caused those claims to be so nasty. And so, through that process, we've kind of worked with the carriers and with some of our experts to, and people like yourself to best inform our clients on what controls they need to keep in place to stay safe.
Yeah, and what I find kind of interesting is maybe a faster pace of evolution is the questionnaire that y'all deliver at the time of renewals or when you're trying to sign a new client, just to get a gauge of how secure is this business. That must be the only way that you can currently calculate their risk. Maybe that in the industry they're in?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, through all of the claims that the insurance providers have suffered, they've kind of dug into those and said, okay, if you don't have this in place, you mentioned MFA for VPN, right? Yeah. That typically leads to a nastier claim if there's a ransomware attack. So by going through that questionnaire, the insurance providers are able to determine, does it make sense to, provide insurance for this, for this company, and if we can, how much is it going to cost, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's perfect. I've seen a lot of new things pop up on it. More recently, for small businesses, SIM popped up on it, and I didn't think we'd see that. It's rather advanced, rather enterprise. And so the RC Ranch event we just talked about, we were actually discussing SIM and how it's a necessity these days. There's others, though, that are on there that the moment they're applied, small businesses and medium-sized organizations have to adapt rather quickly.
Absolutely.
In putting in those additional layers to their business. So in some way, your audit is maturing the market very quickly.
Yeah, we definitely think so, because many people were able to get insurance a couple years ago when that questionnaire was pretty simple, and now that it's expanded to all of this and they've had the insurance and they want to keep it because they've seen whether it's themselves or their neighbors be hit by attacks, they need to kind of step up and put these controls in place. And for those medium to small sized businesses, it's hard to adapt quickly.
Yeah, and so an MSP, the world we live in, our products come secure by default. A lot of the things we offer are directly aligned to what those questionnaires look like. The goal is, of course, to keep your prices as low as possible for as much as you can insure for. For a while there, no matter what people put in place, though, because it was kind of the wild, wild west, premiums were skyrocketing.
That's right, and basically because of ransomware and because of some of the issues that ransomware can lead to, the industry simply became unprofitable. So to kind of level set that, premiums went up to a certain degree to kind of make it a sustainable industry. Now, with that being said, the questionnaires over the past couple of years have served as an audit, and companies that have actually taken it seriously, who may have had poor controls, did not fill out those questionnaires very well, and then have taken the steps over the course of the year to put those controls back in place, they've actually seen flat premiums or even slight reductions in premiums.
Yeah, the slight reductions blows my mind. We haven't seen that in I don't feel like 2 or 3 years since at least COVID started and ransomware attacks became so prevalent.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting that the ability to pass money anonymously through Bitcoin or crypto and other solutions, plus the ability to encrypt so quickly, everything blew up really fast.
Yeah, it really did. I think because of crypto, it's become easier for criminals to have a way to run away with money kind of in an untraceable fashion. Sure. And the sophistication of the ransomware attacks has not only led to large extortion payments, which is covered by insurance at times, but also large business interruption losses, damage to networks, and a lot of other cleanup costs that you don't really think about.
Yeah, definitely. I want to get into that in a minute because I think we are doing a lot of the cleanup. Yeah. Those are costs that are definitely often forgotten about.
Yeah.
Now, those questionnaires we keep mentioning, they're significant. Sometimes they go to someone else in the business outside of IT. Maybe someone head of finance or CFO gets their hands on them. And when they're asked to fill those out, they fill them out to the best of their ability. How bad is it if there's inaccurate information on that sheet?
It can be really tough, and it's a tough process where brokers like ourselves or someone like you that you're partnering with, they can kind of make sure they work with the client to make sure they're filled out properly. There's obviously an incentive to fill it out to make yourselves look good so you can get insurance in place at the best possible cost. Right. However, if there's anything that you end up being untruthful about, and a claim, you submit a claim, an attack happens, and then they use that application to say, well, hey, you said you had this control in place. You obviously didn't because that's what caused the attack. That actually gives the insurance carriers grounds to potentially deny coverage, which is absolutely what you don't want. Right.
Yeah. That you think you paid for it. You think you have coverage, and it turns out you're not going to get it because of an inaccuracy on it. This is an aside I didn't tell you about in advance. I probably should have.
That's all right.
One of the questionnaires I saw a while back from a different broker, also a major player though, they had EDR, endpoint detection and response, and under it, if you said yes, you had to pick which vendor you used. Yeah. And the vendors that were listed, some were big players in the EDR space, some don't do EDR. Right. That was interesting. So the insurance, the provider, the client would check box, yes, I have it because I do work with, I'll use SolarWinds in this case, that was who it was. They don't do EDR, they're a monitoring company. Right. And I had them for monitoring. Right. I know I paid them every year. I have SolarWinds. Right. Well, they would unknowingly be lying about what they have in place without having EDR there. And so it's interesting how easy it could be if you don't have the right people in your corner, filling
right.
these out and understanding what the questions are actually asking for.
Exactly, and there's the level of sophistication in the underwriting review process by the carriers. They're actually kind of able to pick that out. They're that's not a company that we're familiar with that does that type of work, and they'll follow up and inquire about that because that's a solution that they do want to see in place.
Sure. At Center, we have a practice, at least with those that are fully secure managed services customers with us, that we fill out those forms on their behalf. That way, we know what those products are and are not doing. Another fun example: some products have the ability to encrypt, but encryption might not be turned on.
Sure.
So just because you have the product doesn't mean you actually are doing the service right. Taylor, do you mind helping me out real quick? Can you share? Do you have the ability to share your screen? Can you show that document that we were discussing earlier about how it aligns and maps? Is your mic working?
Maybe, yeah.
Perfect.
I think it's working. We should be good though.
Is it up now?
Yep.
Can you show sheet 1 for just a second and just kind of scroll from top to bottom on sheet 1 where it shows the entire catalog? We keep a Bible of all the different questionnaires that are coming through from different insurance providers or carriers. And then if there's something new, we add it to this list so that we can maintain a watchful eye. Secondly, our product development teams, they meet on this same list to make sure that our products are evolving with the attacks. Most recently, you can go to sheet 2 if you want. Most recently, we added a tool called Threat Locker at no additional cost to our customers. It does application whitelisting. It also does temporary permission elevation. So now whenever someone starts to run a new program, a prompt will show up and you have to explain yourself. Why are you adding this? And that explanation goes to someone in your IT department who then blesses it or denies it. So just to put that in the most simple security terms, if I was getting on your computer and wanted to run an encryption code,
Sure.
That's a command prompt.
Yeah.
That would pop up. You'd have to explain yourself. Well, I'm looking to encrypt these things for my own purposes.
Right.
It wouldn't happen. So it's just one great way that if you are getting breached, this can slow down the threat. All right, that backside, the one that Taylor's showing now, the second sheet, this is a quick list of what common chapters are in the insurance questionnaire and which of our product offerings align directly to them. If this is something of interest to you, if you want to go through the process of seeing what it would look like, we would gladly set up a meeting where we can kind of walk you through with an expert. The first 3 that sign up for one of those in the chat today, we're going to give you a Meter Plus. The Meter Plus is a fun tool. It combines tech and meat better than I can. It tracks how you're cooking and the way that you're the progression of whatever you're barbecuing on your phone or on your computer. So you can wind up taking a peek or a look at the progress that you're making with your brisket or steak or other meat. In addition to that, we got these fun cutting boards. These are awesome. These are handmade. There's a business called Honeywood Custom Designs that Chris Polito, a friend of Center's, has been making for some time. You're going to see one later when Jess Prowls is on working with some meat for us in a quick demo. But for everyone who signs up for a meeting today, before this call's over, Taylor's going to draw a name on who wins one of those cutting boards. So we'll make sure you get one. So again, first 3 that sign up for a meeting to go over what the common questions in cyber insurance questionnaires look like, and aligning those to our product offerings to make sure that you have the right assortment of products from Center, you'll get a Meter Plus. And then all of you who offer or ask for that meeting, we're going to put you in a drawing for a really cool cutting board. I want to transition a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, I transitioned once and back. I wanted to talk a little bit about things that maybe our customers don't see as frequently.
Yeah.
I was sharing with you that one of the programs that Center offers, it's a bit of a guarantee, that if you're a secure managed services customer of ours, then you get this layered security stack.
Right.
And if you're breached even with our stack, then you should be expecting 100% of the labor to get you back out of the hot water to be free of charge or at no additional cost.
Right.
Even if it takes 20 of our guys 2 months, which it did once.
Oh,
Well, it wasn't a secure managed services customer, but sometimes that's what a breach takes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those types of things are available to Center, but those customers that don't do secure managed services with us, we hear from them pretty frequently on different breaches or different sized attacks. I think most of the group knows the way that they're going to uncover that something's wrong. Usually it's from like an end user who can't find a file, can't get to it.
Yeah.
IT goes in to take a look, and sure enough, there's a file that says you've been encrypted. One of them, one of my favorites, just didn't even like tell them much at all about what the ransom was or anything else. It just said, "We're Conti, ha ha ha." And then they called their CFO and said to the CFO, "Your IT team let me in." And now you have leadership combating against each other. What did IT do to screw up, and why does our CFO know?
Right.
At some point, they got to figure out to call their insurance company, right?
Right. Absolutely.
What happens if they don't?
If they don't, I can understand, if you're a company and this happens, in a sense, it can be kind of embarrassing, and you just want to clean it up and, deal with it on your own and hope that no one ever hears about it. And while, that's definitely understandable, and maybe another concern is that you're going to get penalized by the insurance company in one form or another. The insurance company is there to help you, and so being transparent with them and partnering with them is important. If you don't tell them, what can happen is, if an incident you think you can clean up by yourself turns into something pretty significant, and then you've known about it for a while, report it later down the road. Because of kind of late reporting and you knowing about it for a while without disclosing it, they actually can deny coverage for that too. So it's important to kind of let them know right away that something's happened, and then they can kind of be there to help you through it.
Sure. You're looking for, and probably what they think they want when they sign up with you, is a partnership.
Absolutely.
You want to sit at the table, and they need to be transparent.
Absolutely.
And if they are, you'll put them in the best position they can possibly be in.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so they called you, they placed a claim, they told you about it. What's the first thing, what should they expect to see take place from their insurance provider?
Right. I think people, when they buy insurance, they think it's just the risk transfer. If something happens, that we've got some money that's coming in to help us take care of it. They actually will help you through the whole anatomy of the claim, right? So immediately they'll get you in touch with legal counsel or a breach coach that'll kind of quarterback you as to what to do. And then you're going to have, a lot of cleanup come in, whether it's forensics figuring out what happened, why it happened, and what's, actually affected. If the customer information was breached, that there's, cost to pay to notify them, credit monitoring, all of that. And those costs can add up pretty quickly, and those are kind of needed in every breach just to clean up the mess. And then, subsequently your business is shut down and you're led to income loss. There's coverage for that. If your network's held ransom, potentially there's coverage to pay for the ransomware attack. If you're sued because of this, there's liability coverage for that as well. So there's a number of things that can come out of this for you.
Yeah. So while we're thinking about domain controllers, Active Directory, virtual environments, backups, how to get systems back in store, how to get employees working again, you guys are taking care of a whole nother level of incident response.
Absolutely.
So talk, I guess, about ransoms. I know that's always been a big topic here. Insurance will pay the ransom, huh?
It depends. Generally speaking, there is coverage.
Good answer.
Yeah, it is. It's an insurance answer, right? No. If you want to pay the ransomware claim or the ransom to the bad actor, you have the choice to do that. Now, the one caveat really is, and insurance companies are now checking for this, is if the bad actor that is extorting you is a sanctioned group, then they're not going to pay for that. And frankly, if it's a sanctioned group, you shouldn't really want to either. But
describe what sanction means.
Basically, it's the government saying we cannot do business with them, and typically it's used to prevent a war or going down that road with another country. But because this has become such a prevalent issue, this is actually extended to specific ransomware groups.
Okay.
And if they're a sanctioned group and there's reason to believe, whether forensics or what have you, that a sanctioned group is holding you ransom, then the company's not going to pay that. The insurance company's not going to pay that. And again, you probably shouldn't either.
Okay.
I don't want to.
One of the biggest terms right now that we get asked about is incident response. We've done a big marketing campaign, not around 911, but really just an X11, because there's 811, 411. There's all the different numbers now, right? Center and MSPs out there want to be in the corner with the client that's going through a painful moment, but there are things that you have reached to that we just can't do,
right? And
vice versa. But there's a lot of things that in incident response that go into forensics and capturing the breach point, everything else. Do y'all have anyone in particular y'all use that y'all like? I don't know how that. I guess y'all have a preferred incident response team?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a number of vendors that are all contracted with through all the the insurance carriers that we provide for our clients. And
so the carrier chooses that.
The carrier has a suite of them. There's a number of white glove firms that are very familiar with handling these incidents. And you can choose to work with whoever's on their panel.
Okay.
And in some cases, they'll actually let you choose your own firm, right? But the firms, that they work with, it's a negotiated rate, and they're there to help you out.
Sure. And then we talked about a handful of horror stories that I think the team that's listening today hasn't had to live through yet. Thank goodness. In some cases, but if you got anything that might pique the interest of the group on what someone's been through and how it can happen, how easily it can occur.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've had a couple of incidents recently come through, and I think, ransomware is what we've been talking about. And when you see that in the news, what comes to mind is how big is that ransomware demand and did it get paid, right? Oftentimes it doesn't get paid, and, it can still be a significant loss. We had through a business email compromise like you talked about, we had a manufacturing company that's a global manufacturing company. They were shut down ultimately that started from a business email compromise, something pretty simple, and it led to a significant ransomware attack. They did not pay the ransom. That said, all the cleanup costs that I mentioned on the front end, the notifications, the legal costs, the forensics, that got into
negotiations. I think you mentioned
negotiations,
too, right?
Yeah,
they had to have a negotiator in place just to stall.
Right? And
great tactic.
All of that, that alone led to over 8 figures. And then because their manufacturer and their operations were shut down, the entire business interruption loss and the whole claim in total, cost close to $100 million.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, this is a ransomware attack, and no ransom was actually paid. So that's where the significant loss is coming from.
In that particular case, did you get where they got in? How they got in?
Yeah, they did. I mean, forensics, they will get in and figure out exactly.
Did you have that top of mind? Did you already?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Manufacturing's getting slammed by these.
They are.
And I was just curious that a lot of the things that happen in manufacturing that we see, at least, has to do with their appetite for Internet of Things devices.
Absolutely.
I got a couple people on perhaps that hate that term, so I'm gonna use it multiple times. Internet of Things is just another IP address on their network, and every IP address, even the Internet of Things devices, can be breached. And so in manufacturing, barcode scanners.
Yeah.
In manufacturing, all the different things they put on the assembly line for efficiency purposes, they can all be breached. And a lot of times IT is not even made aware that these tools are brought in to test or to pilot.
Absolutely.
And they still become breach points.
Yeah.
I heard one from a colleague of yours who told us about a company going from Gmail to 365. And they used a group that took them from Gmail that was assisting in the project of migrating. During that time, they brought multi-factor authentication down in order to make that move. And they didn't bring it back up till after the closing call of the project. Now, probably a lesson learned for the service provider more than anybody. But during that time, the CFO was breached, and their customers were all told to change their wiring instructions to a different group. Yeah, money in the wind. Yeah, but that's a project that's actively going on. My guess is even if something didn't look right, leadership would ask IT, and they would say, well, we're in the midst of a migration. They would chalk it up to it's under construction.
Right.
It's interesting how a small miss on a questionnaire or the active flow of the growth and evolution of an IT department or other ideas can really miss the big picture, and all of a sudden you're dead, you're hosed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think more people right now are taking their own infrastructure and maybe moving it to a cloud or any sort of those projects, and if there's any misstep throughout that it absolutely can lead to a breach, and we've seen a number of those.
Nice. Well, Taylor, we get any questions? Do we need to cover any points we haven't already covered?
No questions, but lots of talk on the chat. They're loving the cutting boards, and
they're all vying for that. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of interest in the worksheet too.
Okay, great, fantastic. Well, that worksheet wouldn't be really possible without our friends at Willis Towers. At Center, we always talk about how we eat our own dog food, and Willis Towers Watson's our insurance broker. So one of the things I want to extend to y'all is if you already have a broker, great. They ought to be able to help you with these cyber insurance things. If your broker is not a strong partner in your business, or perhaps you don't have a broker yet and you want to get involved with one, I'd be glad to set you up with Willis Towers Watson, and you can talk to them about how to make sure you're fully covered. In the meantime, any parting words for the group?
No, thanks for having me, and
Oh, yeah.
and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this.
I got you an Uber back to Chicago.
Yeah, I know, I appreciated that. Yeah, and I know that this is fun for me to talk about, but I know everyone wants to hear about the meet, so we can.
Don't you think? Yeah,
Yeah,
they want
I
to get
think
to
so,
it.
yeah.
Oh, I don't know. All right. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you.